Welcome to A Conversation With, a podcast that takes you inside the lives of people who've defined the environmental services industry. Join host Scott Davis as he sits down with innovators, entrepreneurs, and leaders to uncover career-shaping moments, personal insights, and the lasting impact they've had on the field. Now, let's join the conversation.
All right, Tim. Hey, man. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you coming on here. Yeah, the podcast. So it looks like it's been a couple big years for you in 23 and 24. It sounds like, well, I was doing some reading. It looks like you're a part owner now in AKT.
This is a true story. Yeah. So I've been with AKT for I think it's going on 26 years now. I started when we had 9 or 10 employees. And I was on the AKT end. So I've grown with the company, and we've made some leadership changes. I think a lot of companies in the industry are going through this, right? It's you got to make a decision because the founders of the company or the leadership is looking to retire and figure out a way to do something with what they've built. And they, go different paths, and we've decided to invest within and build within. So I'm taking advantage of that.
Oh, well, hey, good for you. I mean, you definitely wouldn't turn it down. I mean, no point in doing that, right?
That's right.
Of course, I guess they probably expect more out of you now, huh?
Yeah. I mean, the hats were there, frequent hats were there, but I've been lucky that I've been able to take on things that I enjoy doing, at AKT, and they've been open about me doing things outside the organization as well. Obviously, there's some marketing that goes along with that, but yeah, it's been good. It's been good.
Are you referring to ASTM?
Yeah, ASTM and Environmental Bankers Association, those two, I think, organizations, obviously, we encourage our staff to get engaged and get involved in, something in the industry, right, that strikes their fancy.
Right.
But at the same time, some of those things come at your own, free time. It's a cost of your own free time, like you said. So I kind of started engaging in EBA and ASTM and sort of found my people, I'd say, I can enjoy arguing with the definition of likely, just like the rest of them at ASTM, and not get too bored too quick. So it's been good.
Does there one you enjoy more than the other? I mean, like with EBA, it's a lot about getting to meet people, talk to them, and there's definitely a technical side as well. But with ASTM, I mean, that's where you're getting into the weeds.
Yeah, I like them both, right? It's just I see it as different muscles that you're stretching. EBA is definitely there is the it's more focused on what the lenders need versus ASTM, which is where's the industry going? What is it? Where do you think it needs to go, and how can you influence that? Versus just talking to bankers about what kind of struggles they're having and how producers can help them both educate them and resolve some of those issues. So
yeah. Well, so when you accepted to be the co-chair of the E50.02 or something like that, were you just looking for punishment, or what was?
Yeah, and actually, it's not 50.02. So the first role that I accepted was co-chair of 1903, the Phase 2 standard.
Okay.
They were really looking for somebody to carry that through the finish line. Chris McCormick, who had handled that standard, passed away, unfortunately, during the last revision round. So he left a great standard to work with. It's just there's a lot going on right now in the E50.02 committee where we're trying to consolidate definitions and terminology and sort of have some fluidity between those different standards in the committee where we can. And so obviously that's something that needs to be done. But in general, the standard's in fairly good shape. We've got some always areas for improvement, and there have been some great suggestions to do that. But anyway, so I was asked by some of the leadership in the 50.02 subcommittee if I could take that on. And I felt like I needed to maybe contribute a little bit more. I felt I'd been taking a bit more from ASTM in that I was sitting in the room making comments, but not volunteering for focus groups in the Phase 1 standard or that kind of thing. And I thought, maybe I should probably, give some time of my own to it. And so, Elizabeth Kroll and I are doing that with Tim McGahey. And then from that, Julie Kilgore, who's been handling the phase one standard for years and years and years since she took it over from Tony Bonacore, is stepping back in her role. She's been, I can't even imagine how she's been able to run a company and do what she does, and do it so well. Yeah. I mean, she's phenomenal. And so
it's crazy because she was also doing training.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And then she was attending EBA and all these other events. I used to ask her all the time, I don't see how you do it.
Yeah. And things like this, right? She would do these little interviews and things and presentations and, travel to a university and present there. I don't know either. But yeah, finally she's taken some time to herself, and she's not retiring, just sort of stepping back in some of the leadership roles that she has. Mm-hmm. So she's still doing training. She's still going to be on our task group, and that she just needs the other time sort of in between all of those things to herself. So, so she came and suggested that Jim Bartlett and I take over the phase one task group. So
you're doing both?
For now, I'm doing both. I think that the way we have it set up, I think that the plan is that before we get into the hot and heavy of the phase one standard, the phase two standard will go through the balloting process and probably get issued. There could be some overlap, but we also have 3 co-chairs on the phase two standard if I have to step back in a way. So Elizabeth Kroll and Tim Haley are perfectly capable. So
yeah. Well, I mean, both those people, they're always involved. I mean, Elizabeth is always involved in something. She's always helpful and
really great at what they do.
So, yes, no, absolutely. Yeah.
The other benefit of these organizations is that you get to meet really cool people. Scott Davis, maybe. That kind of stuff.
There you go.
Yeah.
Right. So you're not going to call me out at the next meeting for not participating more, are you?
I probably will. Yeah, that's probably what I'm going to do. Yeah.
Sitting in the back row. That's what I do.
Yep.
Well, good. So, that's good. Are you enjoying it?
Yeah, it's been fun. It's, in my day-to-day work, it gets challenging, right? Because I still have clients and I still have some staff that I mentor and work with. And so stepping out of old roles and moving into new ones tends to not be a real clear cut, right? So you tend to hold on some other stuff. So it does take some time. But.
Yeah. Are you running the environmental management group up there? Are you running your environmental group?
Yeah. Okay. I lead our due diligence group. And so we've got offices all over the country. And so I did hire some help with a very experienced person that's come in to try to take on some of those internal training roles and template roles and things like that. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a big change going from when you're doing the work to when you're doing the work and trying to manage a bunch of people, and or you start spreading yourself thin, and then
and we're not a small company. I mean, we're not a large company either, so it's harder to hide some of that stuff. So it does fall on my plate outside of the office a bit, but my wife's understanding and my kids are understanding. So
right. So how many offices do you guys have now?
We are throughout Michigan. So we were born and raised in Michigan, right? So we've got Detroit and Farmington and Saginaw, all sorts of offices in Michigan. I think we're in 5 or 6 offices in Michigan. And then we're in Ohio, Illinois, Georgia, Connecticut, and California. And yeah, so we're not like fully national. It's been strategic growth, but we're not certainly not regional anymore either. So we're getting across the country pretty well.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So since you've taken over, your co-chair for Jim Bartlett, right, on the 1527?
Yeah, and it hasn't officially. It's interesting because, I mean, getting into the weeds about ASTM, but we haven't even officially kicked it off yet, right? So, in order for there to be the form, I mean, the task group continues to form and meet, but it's not official business until we actually say, hey, we need to vote to like relook at 1527 and put a work item together. And so we're sort of like transitioning into those roles, but we're, as soon as we vote, probably in December this year, we'll do like a provisional ballot to get the 1527 back off the ground. And then at that point, we'll both be kind of official co-chair. So.
Well, you guys, committee week just was here recently within the last week or 2 weeks, right?
Yeah, we were in
Okay.
Toronto
So
last week.
okay. So I had sent an email to Molly asking a question about AI's position with doing phase ones or writing reports or being utilized at all. And so I sent it, I don't know, several weeks ago. And so any feedback on that? Did you guys discuss that?
It was discussed a little bit. Yeah. And it's not surprising that you asked the question, and it's going to be a topic that comes up, right? So we talked about it a little bit in the hallways, right? With in official or unofficial meetings. And the gist basically, as I understand it, is that, ASTM has policies about utilizing AI in the development of their standards and using their standards in AI. That's a policy they've got settled and established, and they don't want AI being used in their standards, or their standards getting out into AI, really. As far as using AI in the phase one process, that's a big open conversation, right? Because the sort of comments that were made in meetings were things like, well, we kind of always already use AI to a degree. We're using spell checks and we're using, some language models and suggestions when we write in Word already. And it's not the same thing. It's not the regenerative stuff, but there's obviously multiple schools of thought on this. And some of them are saying things like, well, shouldn't we disclose that we used AI in the development of our report? Because, the standard does say that another professional should be able to come in and reproduce what you did. And so part of that might be referencing that you used AI to develop something, right? And others say, well, that's silly because we don't disclose that we use spell check or whatever. And so, and in the end, the environmental professional has to sign off on what they provide anyway. So there's debate, just like every issue we have in the development of a phase one. There's debates and different sides and feelings. That's the beauty about ASTM, right? We can come together, talk about how we do it, how we use different tools, what those results look like, and what's the industry standard, and what maybe do we think, should the industry be going towards? So there's a good question. I think, I don't know if you had a response, but that's what I heard in the hallways about what was the thought.
Yeah, no, I haven't received a response from her yet. So I'm just curious because I wasn't able to attend this last one. I think it's one of the first ones I haven't been to in a while, many years.
Yeah.
So
I would imagine. So, with the standards, when we review these standards, oftentimes we'll create these focus groups, right? And have a small group of people, producers and users in the room that are task group members to draw in and focus on that issue and come up with some thoughts for the larger task group to vote on. And so I would imagine that AI is probably going to be something that will be in that, a focus group in some of the standards that we work on. So, yeah.
Well, it was, I don't know, several months ago, me and you were talking and about, since the updated standards out on 1527, some of the issues that are coming to light. And you had mentioned about adjacent properties. Any more on that? You talking about, like, for example, if a release is on adjacent property, coming on the subject property, that was, being brought up quite a bit. Any more on that?
No, and to be honest, I don't remember that conversation, but yeah, I think that my view about this has always been interpreting this for the phase one standard, for example, is that offsite issues, right? Really, or not offsite issues, I'll say, but releases from an offsite source. This is where consultants make their pay, right? This is where you have to use your professional judgment and determine what the likelihood is that release has hit your property, right? And so I don't know that there's been some talk, and there was some talk at the committee week last week about that sort of second part of the REC definition, maybe breaking it into two different parts, and that's that likelihood of a release. And so that may be something that we talk. I'm certain we'll talk about it, and whether it ends up getting changed in the new standard or not, I'm not certain. But that's where that sort of issue falls in the likelihood of a release, unless you have lab data that proves it's already happened, right? So,
right, yeah. Well, good. Well, anything that came out of that we should be aware of? The meeting?
Not yet.
You think people are talking about, like, out there going, hey, this is a hot topic or something we need to address?
Yeah, the meeting, because we haven't kicked off formally kicked off the new task group, really, it was really just an informational sort of information gathering meeting. We are starting to collect issues that people see in the industry, because the idea is we want to do similar to what Julie did, right? She had a list of concerns, issues, weird things, stuff like that we've been seeing that we're going to keep track of and then bring up to the task group and say, hey, what do we want to do about these things? Are they big enough where we need to make some changes? The other thing that came up during the phase 1 task group meeting was that because ASTM has the new Certified Environmental Professional program, while we were developing the questions for that exam, we recognized that there were some things in the standard that were just a bit wonky that needed to get revisited. And so those things we're keeping a list of as well. So it's kind of how it works, right? Right now we're in the off season. We're just kind of gathering information, collecting information, and then we can decide how we want to attack them.
Yeah. Well, how is the certification program going? I mean, are a lot of people applying for it, taking the exam, getting certified?
Yeah. I mean, they
getting
mentioned
the traction they want?
I want to say there were about 50. I don't remember exactly what the numbers were. So you'd have to check in with Molly and Brittany at ASTM about that. But I think there were 50 maybe CEPs that have gone through the whole process. I guess one of the issues that a lot of people are running into, which is, I mean, I'm not that old, but I did struggle with this, was you have to have your transcripts to demonstrate that you meet the definition of an EP first. So it's you submit those along with maybe your resume to prove in a statement of experience to prove that you are an EP, and then you take the exam. And some of the folks that have been out of school a while were having problems finding their transcripts. So they passed the exam, and they've done all that. But
couldn't they apply just based on experience?
Yeah, that's true. There could be some 10-year experience folks that have degrees in science or whatever. But yeah, that's what I heard, is that some people were struggling with finding their transcripts.
Yeah.
Where are your transcripts?
I wouldn't even know where to look. I know. Look, I was looking for my degree. I'm not even sure I have it.
It took me some time, and the copy I had, it was probably faxed to me years ago, and like you can't even see grades and stuff on it, thankfully. But
yeah, no, you're right. I definitely wasn't the top of my class. So I was telling my kids.
Are you guys in a position where you might have some CEPs? Like, would you go through that process? I mean,
that's an interesting question. Yeah, if you look at it, I mean, there's really no reason for us to do it or any of the staff to do it. Yeah. I thought about it. Yeah. I used to do phase 1s 30 years ago, and maybe I was in the consulting industry, but there's really no need for us to do it.
Yeah.
It'd be a question: could I pass it? I don't know.
Yeah.
If I know, if you read the standard and you know it.
Yeah, maybe. There's some questions that are kind of newer stuff, but I was thinking about the same thing with the EBA, Certified Environmental Risk Reviewer, right? Like I don't do that for a bank, right? But I could take it to better understand what the banks are going through and that kind of stuff. I haven't pulled that trigger. That's something I thought about.
You know what? And I've heard that. Actually, people that have taken both, they positive reviews on both the certification, taking the exam and all that. And I was talking to one person. They were like, "Look, very tough exams on both of them." And one commented, I'm not sure. I think it was this one guy. I don't want to say his name because I might be wrong, but
yeah, we're recording.
He mentioned look, if you know, right? I know. He had mentioned that, look, if you know the standard, you'll be okay. You'll probably pass.
Yeah.
You read through it and all that. And but he says both exams were pretty thorough.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the EBA exam and just said it gave him a better perspective of what the banks are thinking.
Yeah.
Or what they're looking for. And he said that was helpful, for him. So, yeah. And I think EBA's doing pretty good on that. They have, I think they fill up the class every time they have it.
Yeah. So, well, I think the idea with those things, it's the same thing with ASTM. It's not, the idea isn't to let's make a lot of money here. It's really to try to bring, quality and education to the industry, and then show
they need
users who has that, right? So
yeah, and they need to, because I've been preaching that for years.
I think we all
just
have. Yeah.
yeah, I would get questions, and I would even have people ask me to write that section of the report for them, like the hazmat section.
Yeah.
Or they call me going, "Hey, can you explain what's mineral oil?" There'd be like a 2-gallon spill, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh!"
Oh boy.
But yeah. So I'm glad ASTM did it. Same with the EBA. I think it's great,
Yeah.
and just get better people out there. So
Agreed.
we'll see. Yeah. Well, so you're in Detroit area. Did you always grow up there in Detroit area? Are you in Plymouth or Detroit?
I now live in Plymouth. But yeah, I was born and raised in the city. And my parents recognized that we should probably not go to public high schools in Detroit at the time. That was not a real great place for somebody like me. So they moved us to a Grosse Pointe for 5 years, and then once I got out of or got into college, and my little sister got into college, they moved out into another suburb. So
okay,
yeah.
So Detroit's gone through, but I haven't heard about it a lot, but a few years ago, you were hearing about Detroit, the transformation it's having, all the, the money that's being pumped in there, being revitalized. And it sounds fantastic. I mean, from what it was to where it is today.
Yeah, it's been a fantastic place to live and grow up and be part of, really. So that's one of the things I love about my job is that, I ran our Detroit office starting in about 2005, and the market was just exploding with new developments, new planned developments, condo complexes on the river, and the Riverwalk was just kicking off, and all these beautiful things were happening to downtown Detroit. And then the mortgage crisis hit, right? And, there's a saying that whenever the country, catches a cold, the city of Detroit gets cancer, right? Like it just the impact of a negative economy has always just hit Michigan, the city of Detroit specifically, really, really hard. And so all those deals really sort of dried up, and they were all tied to brownfield funding and things like that. So some of them came back around later when other developers in the market picked up, but the city really struggled with that. And then the mortgage crisis hit the residential housing market as well. And then because of that, when tax generation goes down and the city went through bankruptcy, but the mayor and the business community has really done a fantastic job continuing to invest in the city. And it's a fun place to be. It's a fun place to live. And so, yeah, we hang out downtown all the time, and get down to see friends and stuff all the time too. But it's great.
Yeah, because isn't there like a saying, Detroit Pride or something like? Is that really that big of a saying down there? Detroit Pride?
Yeah, it's more Detroit versus
proud,
everybody.
or is it proud? Is it Detroit Proud?
Well, the pride thing comes from the Lions, right? The Lions pride is
okay.
But the real saying is Detroit versus everybody, because everybody, people are always down in Detroit and saying what a terrible city it is. It's been in the news for my entire life about how horrible Detroit is, and so we've said, let's throw that on our shoulders. We're just going to take it and run with that. So,
well, it's good they did, because I went there one time and it was pretty rough looking. This was obviously during the time, and then you see it on the news and all these homes that were being boarded up and so forth like that. So it's an amazing turnaround.
Yeah, there's still places that are still in process, right? Everything just turn around right at once, but lately that's been the focus, right? Like the downtown's doing well, the commercial corridors are doing well, so the mayor's focusing on the neighborhoods. So
yeah, well, that's anywhere. You can go to any city, and
it's a blueprint.
Find whatever you're looking for. So, well, that's great.
But in my career, that's been a really good thing to have. We talk a lot in like the urban cores and the Rust Belt about how environmental professionals get a much better, training maybe from a very young age, because we get to see a lot of different stuff, right? You get a consultant that grows up in more of a rural area, and they come across an industrial site once or twice in their career, right? This is we get to see some very heavy sites early in our career, throughout our career, and it's good training. It's great training for young staff.
Well, if it's one thing, it's definitely job security up there. So
there's that too. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, it's just but the fact that they're, turned it around is amazing. So what about Flint, Michigan? You do any work over there or all that? What's going on over there?
We've done several projects in Flint. They were Genesee County and the city of Flint were longtime clients of ours. There was one cool project we did there. It was a Chevy manufacturing facility. It was the site of the first sit-down strike, UAW sit-down strike. It was a property called Chevy in the Hole. It was a Chevy manufacturing facility, and contaminated property. City and the county kind of took ownership of the property during the whole Racer Trust thing, and they renovated the property and turned it into a park because it's along the Flint River, and it's a beautiful park. So we helped do that project, and just recently the state of Michigan acquired. I think they acquired like lease rights for 99 years or something like that from the city and township, or the city and the county. So we help with that too. But yeah, that's our specialty, brownfield redevelopment, because of where we are, where we grew up.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Is that like your favorite thing to work on? Your favorite type of project?
Yeah,
cleaning it up.
Yeah, I like to see stuff that made a difference.
Yeah.
I can definitely tell you that refinancing a strip mall is not exactly what I wake up for every day. But taking this property that no one's been able to get through a redevelopment process, right, over a long period of time, and then going through that slog of daily meetings on the brownfield group, and coming up with unique and creative ways to make it happen, and finding this other little funding source, and what are their requirements, and how can we add that to the pot? Helping developers through that process, that's fun. I like that.
Yeah. No, it seems like that would be pretty exciting to work on, especially to see where it was and where it's going, and then seeing the completion of the project would be neat. I can imagine that. It's like mowing your grass.
It's interesting. Like, somebody asked me, like, when I first started, like, what do you like about your job? Right? Like, what is it that gets you out of bed in the morning, right? And it was always I see something new every day, right? I see a different type of property. I meet new people, and I see new industry, and that was fun. And then it turned into like the brownfield thing, right? Like, I really liked that, getting those things through to a completed project were fun. And now it's sort of, I don't know, it's just the different people that you get to meet every day, and the people that you get to talk to, and why did you get into this industry? You and I talked before about this. I think that I talked to some folks that have been around for a long time, right? That maybe environmental attorneys before CERCLA was created in 1980. And like, I always wonder, like, how did you get into this? Right. And so that's one of my favorite things, to sit in the room with some of the folks that have been around a long time, and just ask them, like, how did you start doing this? Like, what is it that drove you to get into this industry when it wasn't existing?
Right. Well, it's interesting because most people, they fell into it.
Yeah.
It was just happened. It just fell in their lap. They weren't planning on it.
So how'd you do it? How'd you get into this?
Same thing. It was just, I was in graduate school. I was working for this consulting company, I think Southwestern Labs back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I was low man totem pole, following a drilling truck. And, sometimes I'd miss, my classes were at night. And sometimes, I'd miss class because I was traveling.
Yeah.
And I was working on my master's in environmental management. So I was in the field, I guess you say, getting a degree, working on that degree, then got a job in it. But how I got in the data side was, I was doing research for phase ones. We used to go to the library and whatever, look at the fire insurance maps or city directories. And there was this guy I'd see all the time, and he'd see me, and he said, "Hey man, we got a job." He obviously knew I could do the research.
Yeah.
And it paid 3 times more than I was making, and I didn't have to travel.
Oh, that's
I was like, yeah, absolutely. And I did that until I received my master's degree, and worked there, I think, a year selling, and then went back into consulting.
Okay.
And then, decided, and I love both of them. The job, the job where I was doing the research as a data company, I loved it just because it's fast paced. I love, winning projects and, the projects timeline was pretty small compared to working on, phase one or an EIS or an EA or a brownfields project.
Yeah.
So you got quick results and I enjoyed it and I enjoyed working with the clients. I loved that. And so I went back into consulting. I enjoyed it, worked for a great company. They gave me a lot of latitude, but when I was doing the work for the database company, after I got my master's, I was looking for a job and they said, well, hey, why don't you come sell for us? And I'm like, sure, I don't have another job. So yeah, I'll do that.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And so I was doing sales and also doing the work because we didn't have enough staff. If I sold a job, I'd have to stay late doing the work too.
Yeah.
And, so I remember doing that and they came to me one day and go, hey, you need to quit selling. We can't handle the workload. And I'm like, what? I'm commission based. And so then I was and I was like, you know what? I probably need to go back and do something else anyway.
Yeah.
So when I went into consulting, I always wondered what could I do if I didn't have that restriction. So, and that's how I, got into.
When you were in college, did you know this industry existed, like the environmental due diligence industry? Did you know that?
No. Well, I did when I was in college.
Okay.
Because it was introduced to me by a professor.
Oh.
And meaning, hey, we're going to teach you how to write a phase one. I don't think it was called a phase one then. I got to look at it.
Yeah.
But it was basically what it was. They referred to something else. And you had to do all this research and the whole class would go out in the field and you pick a spot and you go do it. And reflecting back, it wasn't a phase one. When I look at, what he covered, it didn't cover really any. Well, it covered some, but not to the level what people are doing. Like
I'm sure industry
today.
And at the time, the industry was still learning too, right? Like they didn't know.
Yeah.
Because when I was in college, I had no idea what I was going to really do. I went into school to be a vet. I went for pre-vet in my college. And what I didn't realize is that they didn't really have a pre-vet program. They had a pre-med program, and it was a feeder program for other Michigan medical schools. So they had like a 98% success rate in getting students placed into med school. And so to keep that rate up, they would kind of weed out people. And so I don't know, by the time I was end of my sophomore year, I thought, why am I doing this to myself? I don't want to be a vet. I don't want to be a doctor. So I was looking at what other things could these courses that I took transfer to that would still have, need for chemistry, need for biology. And environmental science was I'm like, God, I should have thought of that from the beginning. This is what I wanted. Right.
Yeah.
But even then, taking environmental science, I didn't necessarily know what I was going to do when I graduated. I didn't really
I don't think most people do.
Yeah. I didn't find out about this industry until I interviewed. And it was like, this is what we do. And I was like, oh, that's a thing.
Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. Well, so you said you were planning on being a vet. So what kind of drove you that? If you didn't want to do it, was it pressure from parents or, hey, this sounds like a cool job or?
No, I felt like
what?
I was getting burned out in school. I was sort of like, I'm done with this amount of school. And I could see the writing on the wall. Finishing this portion of my degree is going to have to lead to another portion of another, 3 or 4 years if I wanted to do other things. And I decided that I just didn't really want to do those things. So why would I put myself through that effort, and then hate what I did every day. So that was really what, and I kind of felt ass backwards in success with that. I mean, I didn't really mean to do that, and it's worked out well. So.
Yeah, it was the same thing. I kind of fell into that program. I started out, my undergrad was, started anthropology, then moved to international studies, got that degree, then realized, wow, there's really no jobs here at all. And I was applying to grad school. I think it was the LBJ School of Public Affairs. I can't remember what it was called. But anyway, a friend of mine was already in there, working on his master's for degree, international studies. And he's like, don't do it. There are no jobs.
Oh,
And I did like shifted gears going, okay. Well, I remember in undergrad, I really loved geography and maps. And I remember I flipped a coin to decide my degree program, my plan.
was
And I
it
was
at
like,
least
well, I
like a
guess I'm doing
shiny
this.
special coin, or you like, was it a
Now,
penny?
I love both of them, and I couldn't afford to get a dual degree, even though I had
Yeah,
probably enough hours to, not for both, but I could, when I finally graduated, I had a ton of hours, but I was just like, I flipped a coin because, I was at that fork in the road, and I was like, damn it, I picked the wrong way.
yeah,
And,
yeah,
and then, I was working odd jobs and said, I'm going back to school. I'm not going anywhere. So that's when I went in geography, and they had environmental management program, and loved it.
yep,
And then that's where I started getting exposed. And, it was just great courses. There were more, a lot of courses on, landfills, stuff like that,
yeah.
aerial photography interpretations, and botany. I did a ton of botany courses, but it was great. And I still remember I talked to a guy that says he swore he wrote the first phase one, and it was
Oh
just
yeah,
a 1-page document, like a couple paragraphs or
oh yeah.
whatever. So I don't know. SunTrust Bank or Sunbank or some
He
bank
might
that
have
already folded.
he might have been it.
They
He
all
might
say
be
it.
right. He might be right. Yeah, I think the high schools are doing a better job now of like trying to get kids to get a feel and a sense for what they enjoy doing, and that career direction thing. I think my career counselor in high school, I think, was like a gym coach or something, and that's that just didn't cut it,
No. Well, it's different back then.
Yeah,
Usually
yeah,
the coaches also would, you know, s- provide the discipline. Like if you mess
yeah.
it
That's
up,
right.
you got to
That's
go
right.
see the coach.
Yep.
And it was different back then. But today though, the kids, when they go to college, they already want them to pick
I know.
a path forward.
Hmm.
And I wasn't ready. Now maybe the school didn't prepare me, or maybe it's just how we are. But I couldn't have picked. I just told you I've had to flip a coin.
Yeah.
And, I know because, I have 3 kids and 2 of them are already out of college. And my daughter was pretty, organized, knew what she wanted to do, but my son didn't,
Yeah.
he
It's
needed
a lot of
time
pressure
to
on an
figure it out.
18-year-old kid to make a decision like
Yeah.
that. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's different. It's, you know, and that, that brings up, so, your young people that are coming on. I mean, do you give them any advice? Like, hey,
Yeah. I mean,
but,
the
think about
advice.
your kids, but then also the people you hire.
Yeah. The people we hire,
What
I give the same advice every time. I've always given this advice to them. Is like, um, this is the range of things that AKT Peerless does, right? We don't necessarily pigeonhole people, but eventually in your career you become a specialist. So try it all, right?
Mhm.
Like, try to get out to as many sites as you can. Experience different groups and offer some time to different groups. It'll keep you billable. It'll also give you, an idea of what different things are out there that you could do in this industry. And we're not a company like, we tell like new hires this too. We're not a company that pigeonholes people into like, you're in the field for 10 years before you touch a report. Yeah, we tend to like, for better or for worse for us, right? We build consultants that can do everything. You can sample, you write the report, you carry it all the way through to the end. We're going to work with you to talk to the client, but once you are familiar with what you're doing, you're going to talk to clients. It's going to be, we're building consultants. That's what we tell people.
Okay. Now, do you guys train them as well? I mean, is it hands-on
Yeah,
training, or do you?
yeah.
So, would you, somebody new? Would you put them in the phase one training classes?
Yeah, we do like internal training mostly.
Oh, okay.
But we're going to be doing an ASTM thing soon where we kind of do a contracted large class for our company. Because with the CEP exam, I think I'm going to want to get a couple people through that course, and I want them to pass. So they don't have to take the training course in order to take the exam, but I want to make them pass. So
Yeah. Well, I was glad that ASTM decided to not force people to take the class. And the reason is there's some people out there that are on their game. They know it.
Absolutely.
They don't need to sit through the class.
Yep.
And I think it just looks better. Even though, ASTM wants, and I think they do a great job, and it's really about educating people and
Mm-hmm.
and producing good consultants. So, but I was still glad to see it. So,
yeah, I don't know that
yeah,
it
that
was
was,
all coming from like, there's a lot of push that it was, ASTM trying to market for themselves, but I think it was also, when you create a certification program like that, you want success. You want people to be successful in it, right? And get the word out that it's legitimate and it's good and all that. So there's a balancing act there, and I understand why they had to waffle about it a bit. But
yeah, I get that because when I went to grad school, I didn't, I just said, well, for this program, I'm going to look for one of the top ones, and I went there. I did not do enough research, but when I got in, they had only graduated 64 people in 10 years.
Oh, wow.
Through the program.
Yeah.
A lot of people were failing, weren't making it.
Yeah.
And I understood why. Because it was hard. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was just almost too, I don't want to say too tough, but it was just like they did not make it easy. And they did, and I know later on after I graduated, they did kind of let up a little bit because it was starting to get but still, it was brutal to get out.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It was,
That's tough.
So this next generation that you guys are hiring, what do you think? I mean, and the reason I asked is because you remember a few years ago, we were all talking about the millennials.
Mm-hmm.
And we were all worried about what that was going to be like.
Yeah.
And it turned out fine.
It did. It did. Yeah. 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 I mean, I think there's a little, there's benefits from every generation and there's weaknesses from every generation, right? This generation, I see, just like I was better about technology than my supervisors were when I started, they're going to be better with technology. And right now, technology runs the world, right? So,
right.
I remember, as a young consultant, I told myself, I'm never going to get like that, right? I'm going to stay on top of everything. I'm going to make sure that I understand all technology that's coming out so I can stay on top of my game. And it's just tough to do that. So yeah, I find myself as the old guy in the room asking questions about something and giggles, and then then they explain it to me, right? So
yeah. Well, just think about where our industry's gone. I can remember doing creating the maps where you get that thing, you rub the numbers on the map or whatever.
Yep.
You get a zip code dump and all that. And fast forward today, where it's at now. I mean, technology is rampant through the industry.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to jump around and make your producer get all like, snip and cut, but AI is, I don't think AI is there yet, but I can see exponential growth in that industry. And I don't see how there isn't some sort of merger of use in our industry. I just, it's getting better. It's going to get better. It's going to get smarter. And the people that are coming out of college right now, right, they're expecting that there's going to be a use of it somehow. So we have a small group in our company right now where we're kind of holding back the reins. We're like, don't do it right now because we need to figure it out so we can set policy. Right. So but that's those people, those newer staff where they might not in the past have been involved in those sort of company policy discussions because they've not got enough experience. Suddenly it's like, no, you're going to be the expert in the room now. Come and help me figure this out. So,
right.
Yeah.
I think it's good to have young blood come into any organization, new ideas, a different way of seeing things.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Even for organizations like, EBA, STM, or any local groups, it's always good to have that.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited for, the next group coming up. I think it'll be interesting. I'm excited to see what they do, all that. Where do you see, the phase one industry going next 5 years? What do you, as far as opportunities and threats and things like that?
Yeah. I do see AI as a threat. I do get nervous about AI because there's a couple things about that. The industries that we work for, developers and lenders, right? I think there hasn't been a good enough job educating developers on the risks that they inherit with like circular liability, for example, right? They too often, people are checking boxes and just getting things. The bank told me I had to do it or whatever, right? They're not as concerned about why. And And then consultants, I think, and I know for sure bankers have kind of gotten burned out in explaining that why, right? This is why this is important for you for liability protection. So that does make me nervous. And then, some of the what Julie would call like the beer and gas money consultants would then take advantage of that and just, pump out whatever they can. So not that I don't like beer and I don't like gas, I'm a fan of both, but and pizza too. But yeah, so it's that's one thing that makes me nervous in our industry is AI and the consulting firms that already don't put the effort in how they might use it. So
yeah, that's a good point. I could definitely see them jumping on right away to use it, to cut costs as cheap as they can, or whatever. But yeah, you're right. Well, that's one thing I always wanted the EPA to come out with a certification program because, they have teeth.
Yeah.
But, they're not going to.
Yeah, I don't see it happening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, is there a particular project you've worked on that's been a milestone for you? It's like.
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty lucky. Again, I think it's probably coming from Detroit and being a consultant in Detroit and some of the sites that we get that were pretty nasty. But I've had 2 Phoenix Award-winning projects that were pretty cool. Just lost an earpiece there. One of them was recognized as a grand prize Phoenix Award winner, I think in 2015. And those really are just cool projects. They're you go. It's the kind of project where like the developer calls you in the room and says, "I got this meeting. I want to talk to you about this project we're going to undertake." And they explain what they want to do. And the first response you have in your mind, of course, you're not going to tell the client that, is that there's just no way you're getting this done. Like, you're crazy to take this property on, right? Like, why would you do that here when you could do it over here, which is a already sort of ready property to do it, right? And then it starts just plugging day to day, and it gets closer and closer, and they show commitment and actually works out. That those are just cool projects. They're just fun.
Yeah.
But,
is it? Do you like them because they're difficult? Is that why?
No, definitely not. I like them because I feel good at the end result, right? Like it's just that all the slog was worth it, right? That's why I like them. But yeah, if you get those calls now and you're like, oh man, this is going to be the next 5 years of my life. Here we go. But they're in the end, they're great. Yeah. They're fun. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely could see how you just be elated to be done with it after 5 years and see it be successful.
Yeah.
That's one thing, when I worked on some like highway projects, those things would go on for years. And, it almost is the point you're just like, oh, I'm ready for something else.
Yeah. The good news is there's other projects going on at the same time, right? So, you get your refinance projects in there or whatever. They kind of go relatively quickly. So, makes you feel okay. But yeah, those are, the end result of those are just great, right? Because you really can make impact on your community when you take 80 acres and change it from blight to that. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, what's something that most people in the industry wouldn't know about you?
Oh man. I think, I maybe this isn't the answer because I brag about this a lot, but I've got a family, my family's from Canada originally. I've got my grandfather was born about 2 hours north of Toronto, and my grandmother on my mom's side was born in Montreal. So I've got a lot of Canadian roots. And I've got a cottage up north of Toronto that I go to every summer and hang out there. And it's water access. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's not your typical cottage. It's kind of lost out in the woods, and it's my happy place. So, but I tend to tell people that a lot if they ask me, that question.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's a secret right now.
And it doesn't sound like it. It sounds like everybody probably knows it. Yeah. Because I don't know if you've ever talked to Carol, but it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. We're cottagers.
So I know it's a big deal. Yep. Wow. Well,
the cool thing though, I'll tell you this. This is something that made me very proud. One of my neighbors up there, he was thinking about selling his place because him and his wife were getting older and his kids were not super interested in it. And it's a slog because we have water access, so everything that we do has to be brought in on a boat, and it's got to be loaded on the boat and then taken across and unloaded off the boat, right? Taken up a hill and stuff. And so he talked to a real estate agent, and the real estate agent had told him, asked him about the property and, well, how do you get things fixed and stuff? And he told him, and he's like, oh, you're an apex cottager. And he said, wait, what did you say? And he's like, that's what we call in the real estate industry, you cottagers that are like, water access and you do everything yourself. We call them apex cottagers. And I mean, I never felt so manly in my life. I learned that I was an apex cottager. That's great.
So are you on an island?
No, it's just, there's no roads on that. Yeah.
No road to it?
It's secluded. So.
Wow. So when you,
cool.
That's all. It sounds like you would have to do everything. So there's a friend of mine that has like a lake house, and he's on an island.
Yeah.
I mean, in the middle of the lake. It's not, but it's difficult to get anything done. I mean,
it might as well be on an island.
Got to come over.
Yeah. Wow. My dad's cousin had the island on the lake. He used to own the island on the lake, and it's just like that. Yeah, it's same thing. Yeah, it's fun.
So, yeah. Well, it sounds like, is it a fishing lake? Is that?
Yeah.
Is that what you go up there, just get away, go fishing, hike?
Yeah, I fish. Most of the time I'm doing a lot of maintenance, but this summer I've got to build a new woodshed. Last year it was new docks, and a couple of years here I'm hoping to redo our boathouse, stuff like that. It's a lot of manual labor, really. But
so is that basically when you're not working, that's what you're doing, is maintaining?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So if you weren't in consulting, is it safe to say you'd be a handyman?
Probably electrician, actually. My dad was a master electrician, and he taught me all the rules of electricity by electrocuting me several times. But I probably would have been an electrician. That's probably what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, I tell you, that's good to learn though. If you know a craft like that.
I save lots of money.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep. Definitely not a vet.
So
I would not have done that. But.
No, especially a large animal would be tough.
Yeah. I do have long arms, but I don't know. It's just not my, not what I wanted to be.
Fun. Yeah, my niece wanted to be a vet, and she changed her mind. She went to A&M here. They have a vet program and all that, and I guess she shifted gears. So
yeah,
maybe that was it. So anyway, well, is there anything else you'd like to accomplish professionally, or you think you've done it?
I don't think I've done it for sure. I've not done it. There's no end to it, right? But I'm having fun. I think I'm on the right track. Like I like the direction that I've been going. I like where I've been. So just gonna keep heading that direction. See where life takes me.
Yeah. Okay. And do you think there are more areas in the environmental industry that deserve more attention or innovation?
That's a great question. It's a really good question. I think that we're starting to move in this direction. I think ASTM is good about this, actually, in that connecting different standards a bit. And what I mean by that, I'll give you an example of an underground storage tank release, maybe at a gas station, right? This is one of my pet peeves, that the way that we tend to look at leaking underground storage tank sites is, a release gets discovered, right? Maybe it's through a soil boring or the removal of an old tank or something. And then we say, okay, there's the release. Let's start looking outside and see how far that release went different directions, right? But nobody ever looks back and says, has this been a gas station before? Has it been a dry cleaner before? What other contaminants might we run into when we're investigating this release that we've found, right? And maybe that would change the way we investigate. So I'm not saying necessarily a phase one, but maybe a historical review would be a relevant thing on that. So I think, having involvement in ASTM and going to the underground storage tank groups and saying like, oh, maybe they want to do this as part of your standard and mention that or something, that it's a good platform for doing that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Well, would that be a legacy you'd want to leave behind? doing that?
No, not really. I've got enough on my plate.
Well, do you have one? Think about it. When you're near the end, is there anything you want to be remembered for?
I honestly, like, if you want the honest answer, when I'm on my deathbed, I want to be known for, or think about, having spent time with my kids and not being disappointed that I didn't spend enough time with my kids. I hope that my last thoughts are not about work or,
right,
how I made my money and what people think about my work. That would be a disaster for me. That would be like a wasted life, in my opinion. But
I agree with you. You know what? I think you're absolutely right on that, because there's so much of, we're not here long. So
yeah.
on Earth, and you want to be, your kids to have those thoughts, and they're never going to go when you're on your deathbed, go, Dad, I wish you could have worked another day.
Yeah, or I really wish I would have got that word into that standard. It's just not.
Yeah.
I mean, for coworkers and colleagues, right? I hope that they look fondly on me, and he wasn't a jerk. That'd be good. But but that's definitely something I'm not going to be thinking about. So,
well, good. Well, hey man, I really do appreciate it. You taking time with us today to spend talk and get to know more about you. I really enjoyed it. And I really appreciate you stepping up, doing all what you do at ASTM and the EBA. And anything you want a website for AKT, or where they could find more information about your company?
I mean, you can check us out, aktpeerless.com, certainly. If you've got listeners out there that need some environmental consulting services, we'd be happy to help you out. But I appreciate the time. This is fun.
Yeah, you bet.
Good luck, you guys, editing this into something, but I appreciate the time.
He'll be great.
Right,
Gosh, it's pretty awesome. So
very cool.
All right, man. Hey, thank you, Tim.